If you're trying to lose weight but have no idea where to start, then this video is for you. You see, losing weight is very easy, but if you don't know what you're doing, it can be challenging. So if you'll give me the next 10-ish minutes, I'll break down exactly how to get started with your fat loss. So first of all, let's figure out why you want to lose weight. It can be for many reasons, you know, health, maybe you want to gain a bit more confidence, or just have a bit more energy, because lugging around loads of extra kilos can be very tiring. Now, as I walk you through the process, I want you to have that reason in the forefront of your mind, because it's going to be very important throughout this process that you stay focused on your goal. Now, let's talk about overcomplicating it. Oh, actually, first, need to get some caffeine in me. And actually, this is something we'll cover later. So it's very common for when people start losing weight, they think they have to suddenly change everything. They go from eating a normal diet, just an excess of food, to then eating just meat, so carnivore diet, or they cut out carbs, which is keto, or they do something. Maybe they'll do a juice cleanse, is that what it's called? I don't know, but they will do something extreme when that's actually not the answer. And so I want you to know the answer is actually simple. The more you try and overcomplicate things and the more changes you make to your current way of living, the harder it's going to be to lose that weight. And so let's cover eating, because we're going to keep it simple. So you may have heard the term calorie deficit. That's the main pillar of fat loss. Essentially, that just means you burn more calories than what you're consuming. And so in a day, you might naturally burn 2,000 calories, and so if you're eating 1,800, then you're going to lose fat. Now, that's an extreme example. I'm sure you don't need to be eating 1,800 calories, but there's lots of ways to figure out what you need to be eating. And so I would recommend using a free calorie calculator online. If I remember, I'll link one in the description, but you can find them online. They're completely free. This is really full, by the way. But yeah, they're completely free. And so once you find out your maintenance, we can find out how many calories you should be eating throughout the day. Now, in terms of how many calories you should eat, whatever your maintenance is, I would recommend starting off by taking 300 off that, because that should be enough to lose fat. Because the chances are, if you're overweight right now or you have an excess of fat, you've probably been eating in a surplus. So if you go a bit below maintenance, you'll probably start losing weight. So once you've found out your maintenance calories and then you've figured out what you need to eat in a day to lose fat, the next step is to figure out what you're currently eating, how many calories you're currently eating, so then you can make some changes from there. So right now, I want you to download an app called MyFitnessPal, no affiliation at all, but download MyFitnessPal, and starting tomorrow, I want you to just put everything you eat into that app, and that will tell you how many calories, how much protein, etc. you're eating, and then you can figure out what you need to kind of get rid of in order to meet the calorie goal. Now, trust me, I know it's a pain to track your food, but the goal is not to track forever. You just need to track when you start off, because that's the time when you really don't know how much you are eating and need to be eating. And so for me, what I like to do and what I recommend for other people is following a meal plan. Following a meal plan is the best way to keep your calories consistent every day, and it also takes a lot of the thought process out of it. One of the hardest parts of losing weight is that every day you're having to think, what should I eat today? What is acceptable to eat today? If you follow a meal plan, you know what you're eating that day, and so there's no thought process behind it. And I think it actually takes out your feelings, because you know that you only have a certain amount of food a day and you know what that food is. So you're not feeling like, oh, I wish I could eat more, because you know what you can eat, and it just creates more consistency. That can involve lots of the foods that you eat right now. I honestly think just eating what you want and then putting it into your app and then stopping once you reach a certain amount is not very sustainable. And by the way, I know that following a meal plan doesn't sound very appealing, it's not very sexy, but this period of fat loss is not going to last forever. You'll get to a point where you don't need to try and lose fat anymore, and so then you can stop following a meal plan. The meal plan is just to keep you on track while you're losing that weight. Let's say if you need to lose maybe 10-15 kilos, this will be a 3 to 4 month process, and make sure you remember that once that's over, you don't need to be this strict anymore. And plus, after you've finished your fat loss phase, you will have built up the skills to be more disciplined and know exactly what you need to eat in a day just to maintain your weight. And based on this channel, you already know that I'm going to recommend going to the gym. I think that's very important, because honestly, going to the gym just burns way more calories, and the advantage of going to the gym is that you build more muscle, and muscle in itself burns more calories at rest. So the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn, the more you can consume without gaining weight. And if you can't go to a gym, bodyweight workouts at home are going to be good. That will help you burn a bit of extra fat and probably put on a bit of muscle as well. But if you are consistently strength training, I recommend eating 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And when you're trying to lose fat, that's especially important, because what will happen if you don't eat a lot of protein is that you'll lose weight, but some of that will be muscle. the protein will keep the muscle. And no matter how much muscle you've got right now, I assume you don't want to be losing it. So keep your protein at about 1 gram per pound of body weight and you'll be good. And by the way, that's totally doable. So right now I'm on 2,200 calories. I'm reaching the last sort of month of my fat loss phase. I've lost 5 kilos in about a month so far. Obviously, I didn't have that much fat to lose, but even with 2,200 calories, which is less than the daily average for a male, I'm able to hit 190 grams of protein a day, and that's really not even trying that hard. I could reduce some of my carbs and fats and add more protein in. It's definitely possible. And so even if that works out with you needing to eat 220 grams of protein, you can still do that with, say, 2,000 calories, for example. So in terms of the type of food you should be eating a day, I always say that really doesn't matter. I mean, there are obviously little nuances and stuff like that, but the main thing is total calories you need to focus on and the amount of protein you eat you need to focus on. Everything else, I really wouldn't overcomplicate it. There are little things like a lot of highly processed food makes you more hungry, and so you'll eat something highly processed and then you'll crave more of it. Whereas if you eat some very healthy food, that will likely fill you up and you'll feel less likely to crave more unhealthy food. And so I would always try and aim for clean food, because really, especially when you're limited on the amount of food you can eat, you don't want to be filling up on junk food. And then when to eat. So with this, I would just try and spread out your food equally throughout the day. If there's a period of the day where you're naturally hungriest, so for me it's in the evenings, I move most of my food to the second half of the day. So I have some porridge when I wake up on my diet, but then I probably won't eat until about 1 p.m. And so that way you can save most of your food for when you're actually hungry, and it doesn't even feel like you're actually restricting your calories. And then another tip, which I don't see mentioned a lot, is if you have certain cravings, try and add food in that satisfies those cravings. So for me, in the evenings, I often crave something sweet. I love chocolate in the evening. And so I have honey and yogurt in my plan. And so what I'll do is eat that in the evening, and that often means that I just don't even fancy chocolate or anything like that because I'm eating that. Because when it comes to snacks like chocolate and crisps and everything like that, that is the thing that will keep the fat on your body. A lot of people don't realise that snacking is the thing that actually causes them to be fat. It's not actually the meals themselves. And then throughout this process of losing weight, I want you to also be tracking. I want you to, every single morning when you wake up, ideally go to the toilet first, don't drink anything, and then weigh yourself, because this is the time that's going to be the most accurate for your body weight. If you weigh yourself at different times throughout the day, you'll read a different thing on the scale. And so for me, I can gain 2 kilos over the course of the day, but then when I wake up, I'm a set weight and I track at the same time every day. And take progress photos. So you want to take a photo at the start of when you start losing weight, because then you can look back and see how far you've come. Now when it comes to scale weight, I always say that 1 kilo a week is the maximum you want to lose. If you lose any more than that, it's likely to be a lot of muscle that you're losing, and that's not the goal. You want to lose the fat and keep the muscle. 1 kilo a week is going to be the max. Ideally half a kilo, and then you'll just be in a fat loss phase for longer. But every morning when you wake up, if you over the course of a week haven't really lost any weight, then you need to reduce the calories more. You will have ups and downs as well, so there will be some days where you wake up heavier than the previous day, but then 2 days later you're even lighter. So it's about a trend over time, and so over the course of a few weeks, as long as your weight's going down, that's the main thing. So like I said, if the weight's going down, then you're good. You don't need to adjust your calories. If the weight's not going down after a few days of plateauing, then you need to reduce the calories further. And just be patient. You're not going to one day just wake up and you'll be skinny. That's not how it works. You need to realise this process is going to take some time, and so you need to be okay with delayed results. So I've just finished recording and I realised I didn't even mention the Monster. So a bonus tip for you is that caffeine can often curb cravings. As long as you're being safe, have a black coffee, have a Monster, 0 sugar, and that will stop you feeling so hungry. So I think we've covered everything there. There really isn't that much to it. The main thing is that you stay consistent and you don't expect the process to be quick. You don't need to overcomplicate it. The main thing is calories in, calories out. If you master that, you will lose the weight. And so as much as I have just given you all the answers to fat loss, if you'd like someone to do that for you, I do offer coaching, and so we can sort your diet and training and everything like that to make sure you hit those goals. And I've also got a free 30 ways in 30 days to maximize your gym gains. It's an email chain. If that sounds appealing, it's in the description. So thanks for watching. If you have any more questions, just drop them down below. I'll reply to everyone. Hit subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video.